please welcome to the stage Fabio di Bernardi.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I had a very tough start to the day, so you are my best bet to make this day absolutely wonderful. And hopefully I have something to contribute to the experience you guys are having at the event. So today we will be talking about resolving the marketing ROI challenge and try to understand why marketing ROI is important, why is it a challenge, and a few tips that we picked up along the way over the last few years, working primarily with brands, advertisers, but quite a lot with agencies as well. So if you in the audience work for an agency, probably I will ask you to put yourself in the shoes of your clients and try to understand how you can benefit them even more with your work. So why is marketing ROI such a challenge? So when I say marketing ROI, I will be talking mostly about marketing data and then revenue data, because without the two you cannot really measure ROI. So the first thing is there are just too many platforms. There's a very famous MarTech chart with between 5,000 and 7,000 MarTech platforms, and on average a large enterprise use 91 sort of MarTech platforms, from CRM to social media to programmatic, etc. 91. It is a lot of data. And also this data is in silos. If you work with 91 partners, you've got like 91 different places where to go and get your data. When we think about revenue data, if you're an intermediated business, if you're like a retailer, you don't own all the sales cycle, then you rely on Tesco, on Amazon, on other providers to give you back information about your revenues, and that's a hurdle. It's a data silo. And then there is the issue of non-standardized KPIs and metrics. So different platforms may have the same metrics but call them differently, or they have different platforms to measure kind of the same thing, a video view, whatever it might be. So this adds to the confusion and the complexity and the challenge you guys are facing. And lastly, technology. I see that as a big challenge because the visualization of data or business intelligence is a mature industry. However, here the problem starts sort of before. How do we go and collect data and put it all into one single repository? This part of the technology market is a lot more niche, and the solution is that a lot of companies cannot deal with the challenge and they just not measure marketing ROI, which I don't think is acceptable, or try to do things one way or another, but not in an optimal manner. Now, I always pause here because everyone loves this. Why should you care about marketing ROI? Why really? I don't know how many of you are thinking about this. Personally, I think you must be concerned about the topic, you must be interested in the topic, because if you're a marketer, you know better than I do that marketing is changing. There is a lot more scrutiny on a marketing team. Marketing is not anymore creativity and then sort of almost throw money out there for big advertising and see what sticks. Marketing is under pressure to become a growth center, and therefore you need to be able to measure what the result is of what you're doing. And in fact, data in general gives you an amazing opportunity to bridge the gap between your decisions as a marketer, your investment, and what the return for the business is. So this is a great advantage of having access to data nowadays, and why we believe you should really deeply care about marketing ROI. Now, another thing, this is the only statistic I will use today, I promise, but it's very significant. Actually, this is also a year old now. The marketing analytics investment is the biggest investment in sort of marketing teams, in marketing budgets, and it's been the case since 2 years now. Now, in 2017, it was 9.2% of the marketing budget. Now it's over 11%. So marketers are investing in analytics capabilities, and this is great. However, there is a bit of a contrast with reality. Reality we see out there every day is that a lot of companies are still relying on good old Excel. I love Excel, don't get me wrong, but it's not quite the type of unified repository where if you are potentially a global company working in different markets, you can collect all the data together in a timely manner to be able to analyze the result of your campaigns and the ROI for those campaigns. It just isn't. So this leads to another good gifts, but also to massive inefficiencies. If you as a company or as an agency cannot produce a almost real-time picture of how your campaigns are performing and how much sort of money are bringing into the company, then you won't be able to optimize these campaigns. You will always be like a step back. You run a campaign for 2 weeks, 3 months, a year, however long it is, and then you try to patch all the data together from your market, from your teams, and then after that you realize, oh, actually we could have done this better, we could have invested more money on this channel, etc. But that's happened. All the opportunity to learn along the campaign, along the journey are missed. So the importance of having data in the moment from all the different data points that you need is very important to create efficiencies. The other massive inefficiency is to do with people. So we will see in a slide later that finding the right skills is one of the biggest challenges for brands at the moment. Now, if you hire a good analyst, a good data scientist, and then you spend between 75 and 80% of their time, and this is not me plucking out a figure, this is the truth, of the time spent just on crunching data and not on analyzing data, you're wasting their time, you're wasting your money, you're not really motivating people. So the technology foundation of data and marketing analysis is very important throughout the business. Now, I've painted a slightly bleak picture now, so let's go into a slightly more positive area now of what are sort of best practice that we can recommend based on what we've seen over and over again in small, large, medium businesses, etc. So the first thing, if you want to be serious about understanding your marketing data and your marketing ROI is, well, make a plan. If you don't have one already, you need to make a plan. And by saying make a plan, I mean do think thoroughly about what pieces of data do I need to be able to measure ROI, where are they sitting. Now, start collecting data, of course, another very, very simple thing. But I'm not advocating collecting data into a data warehouse for the sake of doing it, but it's of course an important part. And these two together, they go along, break down data silos again. The truth is, once I have understood, okay, where is the data that I need to calculate marketing ROI, I need to go to the people who own it and then make a compelling case to get access to the data. And these people might be within your company, so relatively easy task to get access to the data, or as I said, it could be Amazon, it could be Tesco, it could be one of your intermediaries to the market, and the conversation there may not be that simple, but you need to have clear what data you need and then get it all together. How do you get it all together? By having the right technology. Now here, as I said, we're still like data aggregation for marketing is relatively niche. The worst thing I see happening, not every day, but more often than I would like to, is companies building that technology. They say, oh, we've got 10 developers, let's build it. No, you don't do it. If your business is retail or travel or whatever, do what you know how to do. Do stuff that are your core business. Leave other people whose core business is to build this kind of technology to build technology for you and to give it to you. As much as a company wouldn't ever dream of building their own HR or payroll system, but they just go to a specialist, this is the same situation. To build this kind of technology may look simple, but it's not simple, so don't do it in-house. And again, very important, as I touched upon earlier, you've got to find the right people. A lot of times, brands in particular have delegated this type of analysis of their marketing spend to agencies. But this is coming to an end. Brands need to take ownership of the data more and more, so they need to bring these skill sets internally. But also the biggest thing is, you don't have one agency only, you probably have half a dozen in God knows how many countries. Second, you probably don't want to share with your media agency or performance agency your revenue data, your point of sale data. So them alone will just be able to report on a relatively top line of what they do. You as the company, the brand, can put the dots together and really calculate ROI. But for that, you need really good people, and you need not to frustrate them with manual Excel copy-paste of data. Otherwise, they will not stick around very long, I can guarantee you that. And then one of my favorites actually, the big question. Everyone has been talking about AI for a few years now. Everyone has AI something. To me, and we actually do have AI ourselves, but to me the truth is, before you think AI, before you buy into any sales pitch that paints you a picture of press a button and all of a sudden everything will be beautiful and your ROI will be great and will be there on screen, which is a lie, invest in the basics. Invest in making sure that you know where your data is, that you understand what you want to do with it, that you have the right technology, and then at some point you will be at a level of maturity where artificial intelligence or machine learning will be able to give you an edge. But it's not the first consideration when you go into this type of business. Now, who are we? Very, very quickly. So at Adverity, we are a technology platform. We fundamentally provide the type of technology that I just talked about. So on one end is acquiring data from all your marketing platforms and also your internal data sources around revenues, etc., or e-commerce. We centralize all into one platform, and then we make that data available for visualization, analysis. This may take many different ways. I'm not going to bore you now. We're here just across. So if you want to talk to us, come to our booth. But a couple of things about this. One thing, again, the human mind is programmed to understand images much better than text or numbers. So I've seen like huge, gargantuan Excel spreadsheets that are supposed to be reports. Those are not very useful. So whatever tool you decide to use, make sure to make it visual. It's very important to give people a visual representation of what you're trying to prove to them. And also, the very important thing, I call it like a bonus tip in a way, you need to know your audience, which funny enough, I don't know much about who you guys are, so I had to tailor a presentation for a generic audience. But it's very important to realize when you're reporting back to your CMO, to your board, that depending on what they're interested in, then your analysis will need to go to a certain area of the business, for example. And the analogy I like is a car's dashboard. If you buy a racer's car, then you will have RPM as your biggest dial. If you buy a family car, you have speed. You want to make sure you don't go too fast with your kids in the back. If you buy like an eco-friendly car, it's the usage of energy that you have as your biggest dial. So every time you present anything within your organization, always keep in mind who's my audience, what resonates with them. And I would say that probably I'm on time. I'm Fabio de Bernardi, country manager of Adverity. I hope you found this interesting, and please come talk to us after the show. Thank you.